Hey YouTube, so I found this little campground. It is located right next to Petersmill, so this would be the perfect spot if you're going to go do camping when you're doing Petersmill for some reason. Little Fort Campground. It is in the George Washington National Forest, and let's go check it out. Petersmill is the lower badge, bottom left one that you see there on my Jeep, and this is a Jeep Badge of Honor trail, so this would be the campground that is attached onto this Badge of Honor. So if you're coming down from out of the area and you wanted to camp in a tent, like in close proximity to this trail, this would be the campground probably you would stay at if you wanted to be in a tent. This primitive campground is located on Petersmill. It's where the green arrow is on the map, and then Petersmill is a little dash line that goes over toward the red arrow, and we have a complete video on Petersmill. And it is a primitive campground. There is a little tiny connector trail for ATVs, so they don't have to get on the main road that I don't think they're supposed to be on anyway, and that will give them access to the whole entire trail system. So if you're curious, this is a sign just up the road from us, from where the campground is, telling you how to get to Petersmill. So onward to the campground. Hey, so our channel is a lifestyle or vlog style channel. It features us and our dog that's a Corgi, and it's mostly on camping and Jeeps. So anyway, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. We are really trying to push our sub count up, and onward with the campground review. This campground is designed for tent camping specifically. I do not know if they are cool with like overlanding rigs and stuff like that camping here, but I do know that they have tent pads, and it seems like this campground is built up specifically around getting a tent out of your vehicle and putting it on the tent pad and camping in a tent. So this is the information center that they have on this campground. We'll just do a little pan around real quick and then kind of show it to you. This campground is attached onto Petersmill, and they have all the ATV trails here shown, and you can see they're all colored. And the top part is the Petersmill, which we did the video on, the Jeep trail specifically. And then they have these little things here. You turn the washers around, and if they're red, it means it's occupied. If it's green, it means that it is not occupied. So it just says, please fill out a registration card, then go scout out which one you want to use, and then flip it over. And you can see they have approximately 9 campsites. And like I was saying, so this will give you a good example of what I'm talking about. There's an area to park your vehicle, and then you have to walk between the rocks because they specifically do not want you backing like up to the tent pad. And that tent pad there on the left would be where you would put your tent. And typically the rangers and stuff and campgrounds that I've seen, if there's a tent pad, they specifically want your tent on that pad. They don't want you to put the tent somewhere else, as weird as that sounds. And that's the general concept. And that one, I mean, it looks like maybe at one point had a fire grill or something on there. Like I'm not sure, but you can see this is the same thing. You can see the real intent of this campground because you can see that they have it all like blocked off, and they had done this all intentionally. I think that was 9 and 8, and now we are walking across. From what I can tell, you cannot reserve any of these sites. Literally, it's first come, first serve, and you flip the little washover, so the numbers don't really matter unless you're wanting to know, based on the washers. That's campground number 1, and it was up a little staircase if you saw. I think I personally would prefer one of the other 2 campground sites on the left, 8 or 9, even though they're a little bit down a hill, at least they weren't upstairs. So what's so interesting about this campground specifically is that it's attached onto Petersmill and Tasker's Gap. So you can set up camp here, and then ride your ATV or your Jeep right on the trail, and then when you get off the trail you can come back to camp. And you take the little main road that we just came up if you're in a Jeep, and literally you're like 30 seconds from the parking lot. And then if you have an ATV, what is really amazing about this is they have a connector ATV trail, so you can just like zoom like straight up there, which is cool. And that's a connector trail right there on the right. I'll pan over for a second. So you can see there's another campsite there. So that campsite would be right at that connector. So I'm assuming it'd be kind of busy maybe when this campground's full, but it's neat to have that just straight shot out. There's a pretty good sized campsite on the right. It's on a hill, it's not flat. That would be a primitive restroom right there. I believe it's primitive at least. I didn't go in there. But that would be the only restroom that they have at the campsite. But it is nice to see that they actually have a restroom here, and there's another campsite on the right. So I don't know if you noticed, but there's a theme here. It seems like the ones on the left seem like they're flat, and the ones on the right seem like they're on the side of a hill. So I definitely think that I would prefer the ones on the left over the ones on the right. and we'll see if that's still the same when we pull up. So this is just a little loop, basically, and like I was saying, I think there's only 9 campsites here. It's a very, very small number of campsites, but it is really, really kind of cool, excellent and cool. See that? Maybe it's perspective, because that doesn't seem like it's so much on a hill now that you see it looking down. I guess the tent pad itself is flat, but the area around it is not flat. So as long as the tent's on the tent pad, which is where it's supposed to be, you'll be sleeping somewhere it's flat, but it may not necessarily be flat, like around the picnic table or just standing around. I mean, I swear that looks not flat at all. And there's that one side again that I was saying that like opens up right to the trail, and you can see they do have the poles up there, and I didn't go up and measure those poles, but when I measured the other poles around Tasker's Gap, it was 65 inches across, which is the size of most large side-by-sides are usually about 65 inches wide, and definitely like any kind of ATV would fit through there. So this is where we came in at, and this would be the way that you would go to get up to Petersmill if you're in a Jeep. And you just simply go out here to the end of this trail, and then you make a left-hand turn, and literally I think it's maybe like 1,000 feet to the left up there, kind of where you can see it starting to turn at, and that's the entrance to Petersmill. Very, very close proximity. So we'll throw a little bit of Petersmill video up at the end of this video. We have a complete video on it, so you can just see Petersmill also, in case you don't know what that is. So the rest of the video is going to just be a little bit on Tasker's Gap and Petersmill itself. If you've seen the complete comprehensive video that I did on the trail already, a lot of this is just very similar or the same content. So Petersmill and Tasker's Gap. Tasker's Gap is the ATV specific area, and Petersmill is more of where you would take your Jeep, and it's also the Badge of Honor. It is a beginner's level trail. The obstacles are maybe the size of softballs. Very easy going trail, but it is a Jeep Badge of Honor trail, which means that you can get your phone out and go to the app, or the Badge of Honor app is what it's called, and then you put in your VIN number, you put in your address, and if you're within a GPS location near a Badge of Honor trail like this one, the Jeep Corporation will send you a badge, and the badge was what I had earlier in the video that you saw. And what you're seeing now is just some of the different obstacles on this trail. It's a scenic trail. The badge system at Jeep, a lot of people don't understand it. They think that it's meant to be like the end-all kind of difficult trails, and I don't think that's really what their intent is. I think it's more like an indicator of where a bunch of scenic trails are. Yes, some of them are difficult. Yes, some of them are very easy, but they are meant to be more like highlights or like flavors of the area. You know, it's like when you eat food, you know, what food tastes good, and you can't just say, well, only hot food tastes good. There's also some like bland food, I guess, that tastes good also, and that's sort of like the intent. Unfortunately, I do not have any ATV footage that I can share with you of Tasker's Gap or of this area, other than maybe the parking lot, which I don't think you care about. And sections of the trail has evergreens on it, and sections of the trail just have non-evergreen trees. There are quite a few water crossings, and there are ATV designated only trails, and then like the trail that you're seeing here, which is just an OHV trail, that is going to be Jeep, or when I say Jeep, I mean like off-road vehicle, or like side-by-side. And as far as I know, there are no restrictions on the trails that say that you have to be street legal. You have to be street legal to get to the parking lots, obviously, like on the forestry roads. But I think that on these quote-unquote OHV trails, because they are OHV, I think that technically you could probably trailer a vehicle down here if you really wanted to be out here in a non-street legal vehicle. Thank you for joining us on this video, and please like and subscribe. We will see you guys around on the next trail.